First time calling plays against Todd Bowles' defense. How's that back and forth been going for you?
It's a lot of fun. It's definitely a challenge. We knew that coming into it, but every day just trying to figure out where the blitzes are coming from, trying to get into a good play. It's been a great test for the offense as well as myself to try to take our system and see how it's fitting into the scheme going against him. But everybody's working hard. It was good to get into pads and see how that shows up real versus being in underwear. But off to a good start. Looking forward to tonight. So it's been fun.
How much of that is a mano-a-mano, like you going against Bowles? I know, you have certain things you got to work on each day.
Yeah.
How much of that you have no idea what he's going to throw at you?
Right. That's the beauty of it is we have our install, they have their install, and it doesn't necessarily match where they could run something that whatever we're running is not going to work or vice versa. So we have an idea on what's happening, but especially during the call-up periods, which we've had a ton of so far, you don't necessarily know what you're getting, so it feels good just to go out there and call a play and then have the whole, especially the quarterback, but everybody react to what we're seeing on defense to try to get into an optimal play.
Do you notice it each day becoming, I wouldn't say easier, but with you and Baker, because you've never called plays in live call-ins, do you notice it each day an improvement?
I do, absolutely. Even back to from the spring to this point, there's definitely a much more comfortability with it. And then the nature of some of the periods being 20 minutes or 25 minutes where you're calling plays back to back to back, it could be the 1s, 2s, and 3s. So it's just 25, 30 plays in a row. Versus in the season, not that it's easy, but you're looking at call it a 7, 8 play, 12 play drive that could last 5 or 6 minutes versus this one's 25 minutes, so it's nonstop thinking. So it's been a lot of fun.
Charlie Heck moves into left tackle after the news about Tristan Wirfs. How much, if at all, have you had to adjust the offense or the system, or does it kind of just stay the same and you kind of figure out what you got with Charlie?
Yeah, right now it stayed the same, and we'll see how that progresses moving forward, but we have our base install and he's been off to a good start and just running the concepts that we had back in the spring, and it's just good for him to have the communication, especially with the great job that Graham's doing and being beside Breads on the communication, and especially with the blitzes we're having out there, we're trying to be on the same page, trying to pick that up. But he's off to a good start, and again, we're not really adjusting it and might not have to adjust it, so at this point it's just been out there playing ball.
Talking to Emeka yesterday, it's clear how thoughtful and mature he is, even for a rookie. How have you seen that kind of translate so far in the early stages?
Yeah, he's been in a great way. He's been as expected. And it's still, even though there is that expectation with him coming in as a first-round pick, he's even exceeded that, where his communication skills are off the charts and his ability to pick up the scheme. It's different for, say, like J-Mac, you're coming back and it's similar verbiage and things of that nature. What he's been able to do as a rookie is unbelievable. And then once the ball is snapping, you guys have seen it. He's been getting open. You can tell how strong he is through the catch. His yak's been great. Of course, he's a really good blocker, but he's such a cultural fit as well that it's been off to a good start for him.
Has he
Perspective. Go ahead.
Has he made it easier to be without Godwin for a few days?
You're never going to replace Chris because of what he does both on and off the field, but it is good to have another weapon in there, whether it be in the pass game or the run game, where we can now spread the ball around and get it to him as much as possible.
From your perspective, what's it been like seeing some of the younger receivers and Mike Evans and kind of maybe the mentorship or just their relationship in general?
Yeah, it's constant, and they're just so fortunate from Tez to Mech to Garrett to any of the young guys to be able to learn from them. We just had a walkthrough this morning, and we can coach it up, but Chris and Mike were coaching up the concept just as much as myself and BMAC were, and that's just on the field. I can't imagine what they talk about off the field on how to be a pro and how to conduct themselves, but they couldn't have come into a better environment for two people to learn from.
When we've seen Mike participate in 7-on-7s, 11-on-11s, it looks like it's just pitch and catch between Baker and him. Just how beneficial is that to have two guys just clicking on such a great level already as you come in calling the plays too?
Yeah, that's what you would hope with them being together now for the third season and having similar systems where you want that continuity, them to be on the same page, especially when it comes to, we just called this play or called this route, with their ability to then change that if they need to based on what the coverage dictates. And so Bake hit on it. Even though we were good at something last year, it doesn't mean we're going to be going on this year unless we put the work in now, and that's what we're trying to do and try to expand that as well. But you can just tell the continuity's there.
We've had a few players talk about potentially getting more vertical in the offense coming up. What have you seen from the wide receivers and from Baker Mayfield's play over these past few days that leads you to believe that that's a possibility going into 2025?
Yeah, it's something we've stressed in the offseason from the time they got here in April through the plays that we were running in the spring to try to push the ball down the field a little bit more. We did a bunch of it in the spring, done a good amount of it so far here. It is a great challenge with all the blitzes trying to hold up in protection and be in the right protection to be able to get that off, to be able to get the throw down the field. But it's something we're stressing and we will continue to stress.
You mentioned the continuity, and obviously you were here last year, but has anything in the first 5 or so days of camp surprised you?
I wouldn't say a surprise per se from schematically or from any of the players. Just know it's fun just going against them and seeing even the rookies on defense, seeing the challenges with those guys face, especially on the perimeter with Parrish and Ben and those guys. But I wouldn't say anything has been shocking to this point.
We spoke to Grant Barton the other day, and he was talking about you and said that you kind of match their meathead mentality. Would you agree with that, or would you say that you're matching the intensity of not just the O-line, but really the whole offense?
Yeah, I think what the O-line, their mentality, and it could be similar to mine, is that how tough-nosed they're going to be, and we're going to win the game in the trenches, and we do want to air the ball out and push it down the field, but the run game was so good to us last year, and have such just a good rapport with those guys, and just knowing that it starts with those guys and being able to run the ball and protect and hold up, and I enjoy being around them. They're just such a competitive bunch and true pros.
You know, Bucky Irvin had an unbelievable year as a rookie, and you do have Rashad and a good offensive line. Sometimes there is a sophomore slump. What can you, I'm sure you're confident that won't happen with Bucky. Why would that be?
The way that he still continues to come in here, just not as early as Coach Moore, but close to as early in the work that he puts in. And so I can't imagine his work ethic falling off and what he's been able to do so far. He's even light years ahead of where he was at this point. We watched a practice from essentially a year ago today that we're going to have tonight, and just the strides he's made even from that point are amazing. And so you can see the work that he puts in. You guys talk to him. He loves it. He's committed to it. And it showed up, especially once we put the pads on. So because of his work ethic, we wouldn't expect to have any of a setback.
What have you been seeing from Devin Culp so far, and how much has he grown over the last year or so, and how unique is his skill set for your offense?
It is unique, and he's grown tremendously. You could tell even after the season when I got the job, the communication that we had and him coming up and watching tape and learning the system and trying to figure out exactly what we were going to do that was going to be different or the same, and then the work that he put in training, because we all see it out there. The guy can fly. He has a different speed than the vast majority of tight ends in the league. So he put the work in there, and then now he's seeing the fruits of that labor through camp, where he's had a couple really explosive plays that you've seen, and just having the second year in the offense where there's not that anxiety of what are these plays, what are these formations, where he can now play fast and try to get the ball to him as much as possible. So he's off to a really good start as well.